session, a lot of you already kind of know that we've had the Forrester TEI study done for us. There was a lot of comps that went out initially. I've been getting a few questions and conversation about what exactly does TEI mean? How do I share this with our prospects? So in today's session, I want to cover three things. First, give you an overview of what TEI means. Give you a brief summary of the methodology and the results. I also want to then kind of show you some of the kind of nuggets that we can reuse in some of our presentations that you make for prospects. And then most of my time, I'll go to showcasing our study and the calculator. Before I kind of deep dive, I also want to mention some of you may have seen the ROI tool that Keith Gunther had showcased on MasterSeller, and it's on his value selling site. I wanted to kind of quickly show you what the differentiation between that tool and the TEI tool is. The TEI tool the ROI tool that Keith Gunther has made is awesome and it's super detailed. So what happens is it actually takes you through like a detailed comparison between Office 365 on-premise, and it's a lot more engaged. So typically you would present that tool when you're already engaged with that customer or a prospect. What the aim of this tool is that you will use this in the discovery phase of your calls. This is a lot lightweight, and this will basically be a bait or a hook for people to understand how do you quantify benefits. So before I deep dive, I wanted to quickly make that point. So with that, let's move on to the meaning of TEI and the methodology that Forrester used. So typically when we've had the discussions about cost savings with our prospects, we talk about kind of absolute cost savings or IT cost savings, total cost of ownership, and things like that. We haven't had a very kind of intelligent or third-party approved validated message to showcase how do we actually quantify our benefits. So what does efficiency look like, or what's the dollar value that I can get the place on having VC meetings, for example. So we actually did have a Forrester study in 2010, and the engagement with Forrester for this time around was to do a refresh. So Forrester interviewed 5 customers directly and surveyed about 200 respondents. Out of those 200 respondents, 100 were IT users, and the other 100 were line of business users. So on this slide, let me just kind of explain what these main buckets mean and what they look like. So as I mentioned, the objective of the TEI was to kind of quantify the benefits of moving to Google Ads as opposed to calculating just cost savings. So from an input standpoint, this study consists of 3 things. What are the benefits? What's the impact on the business? What are the costs? And what's the flexibility look like? Flexibility talks about kind of investments that you make in business for future benefits. So you're basically laying a foundation. Benefits is kind of self-explanatory. We talk about things like single sign-on, app-to-app synergy, ability to search better, ability to have to sit on a VC meeting as opposed to be in a face-to-face. And then for cost, it's our kind of standard IT licensing costs, but it also considers change management costs and the support costs and things like that. Now, in addition to that, what happens is after Forrester has quantified these benefits, they apply this thing called risk. So Forrester identifies risks like what if something went wrong during the implementation? What are some of the support risks? And they apply that, and then they adjust the benefits to come up with the total economic impact. So over here, what I wanted to show was kind of what did in our interviews with customers, what did they actually mean by benefits? So I've just simply picked on one customer here and what they said about what benefits mean. So one of the customers mentioned that in benefits, with the help of Google Sites, they are able to kind of reduce the number of emails, and the external sharing with suppliers has become even more awesome. In terms of risks, I mentioned email migration for them was they identified email migration and end user training as one of the potential risks. And in terms of flexibility, the room for future growth, they found that VC and using Google Plus instead of email was basically laying this foundation so that they can kind of plan for the future, if you like. And if you've seen the study, I don't know how many of you guys have actually seen the study. These are kind of the three main results out of it. So the main result is ROI is 330%, the net present value is 10.1 million, and payback is 1.4 months. And this will typically be your first conversation that you will have with your prospects. And then I think the kind of logical next steps would be, so how do we come up with these things, right? So they'll ask you, like, what does payback mean? How did you come up with a number? So at that stage, what you can do is they're ready to engage with you. They're ready to deep dive, which is an awesome sign. You can do either one of two things. You can either pull up the study and then go through the study with them, which is the one that you see on the left, or you can go actually, if they're interested, you can calculate these benefits for their company using our tool. So let me first jump and tell you I'll just kind of quickly go through the study. By the way, you can find this study on google.com/apps. Let me just show you where to find that. If you go to google.com/apps, go to resources in the library section, you'll find the Forrester TEI study here. I already have it open, so I'll quickly jump through some of these. So in the executive summary, you can, as I mentioned, the main three things about the, I don't know if you can see this properly. Okay. So the main three things that we mentioned about 329% as a risk-adjusted ROI, they are mentioned here. You can go through the methodology, and then you can basically show them or tell them what benefits mean. Like, benefits are split into two things, IT benefits as well as end-user benefits. And you can go through all of them. Going further down, you can show them what the methodology was, what are some of the things with costs. And then the thing I wanted to show you here on page 7 is Forrester actually, this section right here, they actually went, they pulled some nuggets out from our customer interviews and then put them here. So for any presentation that you guys are making, prospect-facing or customer-facing, you can actually use some of these stats to, and obviously kind of reference it back to our study, but you can use these stats as a part of your presentation. So things like almost 25% of the interviewees handle more than half of their emails on a mobile device, or 44% of our respondents noted better internal collaboration as a result of quicker and easier file sharing. So there are some really cool nuggets that you can use as a part of your presentation. And then you can go, I'll go into some of these details from the tool. So one thing that I want to highlight and I want you guys to focus on when you talk to your prospects is the concept of the internal collaboration efficiency is almost 3 times, the benefits out of internal collaboration efficiency is almost 3 times higher than your IT cost savings. And I know a lot of you have had this challenge when you talk to your prospects about, but how do you put a number to it? And hopefully this study kind of solves that. With this study, you will be able to show that internal collaboration efficiency, in this table with the internal collaboration efficiency, you're able to, for an 18,000 employee company, you're able to save $8 million out of the overall 17 million. So you can showcase that all these, like all the top 5 options, benefits here, add up to more than 60% or 70% of your total benefits. Then it goes through IT cost savings of kind of what are your license spends, what's the operational cost, infrastructure costs, and things like that. So hopefully you start to have these conversations where you're starting to kind of showcase that, yes, typically people when they go to Google Apps, they go it because the obvious IT cost savings, but after they go, the obvious benefits that they start seeing are in the efficiency side. So hopefully you kind of start informing your prospects on those lines. So I'll kind of come back to the tool because I think I want to spend most of my time there. This tool, the calculator, you can find it on go/enterprise sales. Let me show you exactly where. So if I go to Go Enterprise Sales, click on Value Selling. So you can find the study here, and you can find the tool right here. So the idea here is that you clone this spreadsheet every time you want to present this to a customer or a prospect, and then kind of make this your own. There are 4 major tabs in this spreadsheet: the user input tab, results, benefit details, and cost details. And I'll go through each of them. In the user input tab, in column B, what you see here is what you will input on your prospect's behalf. So things like, what are their total number of employees in their company? What's their average revenue per employee? Things like, what's your, how many employees do you grow per year? What are the working days and things like that. What you see in column C is the benchmark data that Forrester gathered as a part of their interviews. So as a part of their interviews, Forrester actually identified 18,000 employees as their average. This was kind of LCS skewed a little bit. So you'll see that 18,000 employees was their kind of average employee size for this study. So it's likely that when you start kind of digging deep a little bit, and again, if you compare this to like this in-depth ROI tool like Keith had mentioned, or Showcase, it's really lightweight. This is all you're really asking from your prospect. So it's a lot earlier in the buying life cycle. So if your prospect doesn't know things like what their average IT staff is, salary is, what their staffing hours is, you can basically tell them that on an average, based on what we interviewed our customers with Forrester, this is the standard and it's okay for you to use it. So with that, once you're done with this input tab, now we basically show them what the results are. So what you see here is kind of equivalent to the 3 main buckets, right? So the ROI is 430%, payback period is 0.9 months, and total benefits, the present value of the total benefits is 14.7 million. Now these, if you remember, these numbers are slightly different than what we just saw, and the reason for that is this is not risk adjusted. So if you care about if you care about risk, or if your prospect cares about risk, and as I mentioned, risk is about something could go wrong during implementation, something could go wrong with support. In that case, you can scroll down, and rows 50 to 52 is where you'll see those numbers. So these are the risk-adjusted numbers. So these are the numbers that you use in the study that you saw. So the ROI is 329%, payback period is 1.4 months, and then the net present value is 10.1 million. Now, I'll open this up to Q&A at some stage, but let me kind of tell the next tab on this is the benefit details, which is, in my mind, the time that you should most spend on with your prospects. So the natural question that your prospect will ask is like, how did you come up with these numbers? Like, what do these mean? What do you mean by benefits? So this table in the benefit details basically tells you all the 9 or 10 things that we consider benefits, right? So the benefits in this case is app-to-app synergy. Now, what app-to-app synergy means is when we asked our prospects, when we asked our users, how much time do they spend within multiple apps, they basically said that the whole single sign-on aspect, which is they don't have to switch, log in, log out between multiple applications like calendar, email, Drive, Hangouts. The fact that they don't have to log in and log out is a huge advantage for them. So they, if you go deep here in the app-to-app synergy section, they'll show you things like how many minutes did you save as a result of working with Google Apps. So they said 12 minutes per day. So what they do, Forrester did, is basically extrapolate that 12 minutes into number of hours saved per year, and then multiply that with the number of employees, and they found this number of 1.3 million here. They also asked, what's the productivity increase? So the productivity increase in this case was 20%. So they put a number to that. So this is how you defend, or this is how you explain your prospects what these numbers mean. Things like search, what search meant is the ability to retrieve information faster. Improving team efficiency by virtual meetings, internal collaboration efficiency. So as you can see, all these numbers here are related to efficiency or collaboration benefits. And if you add that number, it's more than 70% of the entire benefits. The rows 22 to 25 talk about costs and licensing spend. And these are obviously significant cost savings too. So as I said, you can defend these numbers by scrolling down further if they ask you, like, what does that mean? Like, what does search mean? Like, what's the productivity increase? What does filtering mean? And things like that. So the next tab over here is cost details, and this is a very simple one. It basically showcases what the costs are for a Google Apps license. Some of the questions were, how much was the cost for change management? So you can see that in the change management testing, all the deployment costs are typically just in the first year, and there's no cost after that. So this basically shows you our standard kind of total cost of optimization, and then once you combine the cost with the benefits, that's how you get the overall number. So I think that's, I know it's kind of difficult to kind of showcase this exactly over this master seller, but I hope this conveys how you can showcase this tool when you're on a phone call with your prospects. So with that, I think, Lance, I'll open this up for Q&A.
What questions do you have for MD? Again, is this a global tool? What does it take to globalize this tool?
So this is a global tool. One of our customers was actually from UK. Some of our respondents were from UK, Germany, and APAC. Although there's, I would say, about 80% of the respondents were US based, but this is not limited to only US.
But do you have to change currencies, or I assume you do?
Yeah. So in the settings tab, good question. In the settings tab, there's a way to change the currency from this tab, from this drop down.
Great. I'm not seeing any questions come in at this time, so I think we'll go ahead and bring the session to a close. Thank you, Allison. Thank you, MD. These are very powerful tools, and I'm sure the reps will appreciate having access to them. And with that, I'll say bye-bye, everyone. Have a great week.
Thanks, everyone.